Jax, big fan, but we'll exchange hugs and kisses later. What do you think? So we're going to
Promise?
start off with a trade, promise.
Okay.
12 team Superflex PPR 1.75 tight end premium, start 10. Are you going T. Higgins and Tony Pollard or Chris Olave?
T. Higgins and Tony Pollard for me. I love doing that when, I do prefer Chris Olave to T. Higgins, but in the fact that I do prefer Chris Olave to T. Higgins, I also bake in the fact that I could be wrong. And Tony Pollard is plenty of juice to allow me to be wrong. I mean, even if T. Higgins is completely worthless, Tony Pollard is enough on his own to, be wrong on Chris Olave.
Shane, you're the resident Olave fan. It's going to be a rough offseason if you're wrong on Olave. Go ahead. Which side are you taking? You're struggling.
Fucking shit. Yeah, I mean, you got to take T. Higgins and Pollard. I'm not ecstatic about it. T. Higgins is better than people give him credit for. And Pollard, like, he's a running back, and I don't trust them at all. So then I'm going to look to move him immediately and see what else I can do. I could live with that. Look, I've got enough.
You're making some good points, actually, even though you're not making any points at all in the way that I'm only teasing. But you're actually, it's true. I was just picking on you because that's what we do. I love Shane so much. But you're right that actually, T. Higgins is I don't think he's ever crested 110 targets in a season. And, if Chris Olave turns around and becomes, a top 5 dynasty wide receiver, Tony Pollard fades off to nothing, and all you're left is holding T. Higgins, you could be right. So I guess it's more of a win now move on the Higgins Pollard side, and maybe a rebuild move taking Olave, I guess. I don't really know. It's close enough, but I still think the value certainly is on the Higgins Pollard side, but it could be a sneaky way to attain Olave, right?
So I have Olave in 20% of my leagues. I have T. Higgins right below him, right? So this trade, like, there's no outs for me. Like, I can't even go, well, I get to diversify a little bit of Chris Olave. More I think about this, like, if I'm going to be convicted, I just need to put my nuts and nail into the wall. And I keep saying Chris Olave is going to be he's going to be Jamar Chase. He's going to be Justin Jefferson. I wouldn't trade either of those two for T. Higgins and Tony Pollard. Right. So fuck it. I'm just holding Olave. And if I'm wrong, such is life.
Yeah, that's right.
Scott Connor, which side are you taking on that one, man?
I'll make 100 of these deals. I'll win 75 of them, and I'll just absolutely smash people with the value. So it's not even close. This is
T and Pollard.
Our mantra is process over players until you get the certain players that really trigger Shane, and then the process is gone. And this is Chris Olave is definitely one of those. So yeah, this is if you just manipulate this. Can you get a first for Tony Pollard, Scott?
Yep.
Yes.
You sure can.
Right. So now you go. I have T. Higgins and a first. I'd say in most leagues that can get you more than Chris Olave, unless Chris Olave hits his top 10% range of outcomes or better. And like, if you just break it down that way, then I get it. Shane says I'm putting my nuts on the ground for Chris Olave. I believe he's going to be a top 5 receiver. You can only do that so many times. If that's how you play Dynasty on a large scale, you're going to get crushed.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So not every move is made in 1,000 times in 1,000, right? How often am I even going to be able to make this trade, right? And you were just mentioning, like, oh, I get a first and T. Higgins. And then, it's going to be fun next year when I'm like, hey, what I'd like to do? I'd like to tear up from T. Higgins. If I had a first to him, do you think I could get Chris Olave? Look, the range of outcomes for Chris Olave are T. Higgins and better. It's close.
Let me ask you this.
You shouldn't do it all the time.
Let's make this a quick answer, but when I was putting together that little scenario, at first I had it T. Higgins and Dameon Pierce. Now, is that too far the other way? It's a start 10, still tempting. I mean, he's going to get some work, right?
Dameon Pierce is a replaceable running back, so I can fill him in with a couple bodies that are worth thirds or waiver fodder. So that's where if you can upgrade by your second piece being. That's not a leverage trade because the second piece you're going, there's no way Dameon Pierce really ever moves the needle enough to where it's like, man, I wish I wouldn't have traded away Dameon Pierce instead of, I don't know, insert whatever running back pops up in week 5 that is a placeholder spot starter if there's an injury. Like, that's how I view Pierce. So I'm fine giving up Pierce for that if you really want Olave.
So, Scott, let's get a baseline on you with some Dynasty here. How many leagues are you in?
Like 20.
20? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what would you say your favorite scoring format is? So Superflex, tight end premium, all that good stuff. What's your favorite format? You're in charge of a startup. What are you setting it up for?
So the one thing, so number one, I mean, you got to play Superflex nowadays. I think, one quarterback was how I started playing, and Superflex kind of sounded, new and flashy for a while there, but now I think it's the norm, and it does make the quarterbacks have value. Then you can actually look at Brock Purdy and trade him for something. He's worth something. Sometimes maybe they're worth a little bit too much because people are so afraid not to have one. But all that being said, Superflex number one. I'm okay with tight end premium. I'm okay without it. I don't really love start 2 tight end. Puts maybe a little bit too much of a premium on rostering tight ends. I'm fine with a 1.5 premium or whatever. But here's the thing that I am standing on the mountain, shouting into the void, defending one scoring setting that needs to be adopted by all leagues, and that is half PPR, half point per first down, because I am so tired of PPR where you're rewarding a guy like Nyheim Hines who catches a 2-yard swing pass on 3rd and 42, and he gets as much points as when Nick Chubb converts a first down on 4th and 1. It actually triples him up. Chubb gets 1 point, and that's 0.1 versus 1.2. I want to see those things get closer. And with half point PPR, half point per first down, it just brings everything into focus. Better players score more points, and worse players don't. So for me, that is the one scoring that I recommend to everybody. I mean, half point PPR, half point first down, and then you can do some fun stuff.
Here's my problem with that, Jax. Right?
I like it.
You're using a bazooka to kill a fly. Nyheim Hines, Theo Riddick, these are outliers. Generally, the good players are going to score more points. But yeah, I mean, every once in a while, there's a Theo Riddick or a Nyheim Hines that pops up. But going to half PPR, you're definitely going nuclear on it and just crushing.
Not really, because think about it this way: when DeAndre Hopkins catches a pass, it's usually for a first down. It's downfield. He's catching first downs. A guy who's catching little dump. What's the biggest play in the damn game? It's a fucking first down. I mean, it's such a huge. Anytime your team converts and isn't punting, you're like, let's go. A first down is a huge.
Yeah, for sure.
It's true. You watch football, you're like, dude, fucking first down. Let's go. I mean, it's such a huge play. And in this instance, a big catch on 3rd and 11, but you get 9. Is not that big a play. You catch a 9-yard pass on 3rd and 11. Tell me who gives a shit. Just tell me who cares. Nobody. You catch a 4-yard pass on 3rd and 3. You are fist pumping. So to me, that first down changes the play immensely. How are teams playing? They're giving you 9 yards. You can have 9 yards. So I mean, to me, it's not a bazooka. It is because it's easy. And really, the points are very similar.
But here's the problem, right? We've tried to use that argument before with certain things. So why isn't a block worth anything? Like a tight end springs are running
a couple PPB leagues, points per block. Actually, PPP, points per pancake. I mean, if you pancake a motherfucker, you should get points.
So this one right here, because we were talking about Olave. Here's another big name. This is Shane's second my guy, since that's the phrase these days, right? Garrett Wilson. Manny R asks, hey guys, just got done going through my fantasy portfolio and noticed I have Garrett Wilson in 33% of my leagues. I know we have high expectations for him, but at what point would you look to diversify? So we don't know how many leagues he's in and how vast this portfolio is, but what do you think there, Scott? Bottom right corner, Scott. 33% Garrett Wilson.
I'm curious about what Scott Connor thinks of this too, because I would say that, right now Garrett Wilson is valued as anywhere between the wide receiver 3, probably most often the wide receiver 3, because I don't think you could sell Garrett Wilson straight up for like AJ Brown and CeeDee Lamb. I think, in other words, you couldn't trade CeeDee Lamb or AJ Brown to get Garrett Wilson. The Garrett Wilson owner is going to decline. So I think his general value, 27 leagues, there you go. So nice. 9 out of 27. I think you're that's his value right now, wide receiver 3. And I would say that is pretty close to any wide receiver other than Jefferson and Chase and Marvin Harrison that's their ceiling is wide receiver 3. So at this particular point, if you can sell anybody at wide receiver 3 value, you should probably do it. Now, you don't have to sell all of them, but especially in the spots where you can get a treasure trove of assets, especially if you can get another one of those, like, the next 10 wide receivers, the Amon-Ra's, the CD Lambs, the AJ Browns, I don't know, just the guys in that range, the Olaves. If you could trade Garrett Wilson for Olave plus, I know Shane's doing that in a second, but I think those are smart moves to make. Garrett Wilson does have some potential upside, but I think it's, over the wide receiver 3, but I think that's an inside straight draw.
Inside straight draw. I like that. Go ahead, Scott Connor.
As I say, we can go Jax and Scott, or we can go Scott.
Let's go Jax and Scott. Does that work? Does Jax and Scott work? Rock on.
We got to get some Jax in there.
Yeah.
So here's how you play this, right? I have no problem holding 33% of my value in Garrett Wilson because he's an asset that I think has multiple potential outs, and he has more than 1 year. He is not an asset where it's like in a year I could lose 20% of my portfolio value across 33% of my leagues. So he's one of those spots. It's like having an elite quarterback. Like I'm a little more liberal on how much I'll go percentage wise. Here's how you play it though. Here's why portfolio can be so powerful. He has 27 leagues. I guarantee you of those 9 where he has Garrett Wilson, not all 9 are aligned perfectly to store the value that he has in Garrett Wilson. There's probably 2 or 3 of those leagues where you go, damn, can he trade for T. Higgins and a first and get that deal and essentially get the leverage deal or win the value deal, but do it in the spots where it's most advantageous to do it. If it's a 12-team start 9 where he's just looking for hammers, that's the league you go, I'm not moving Garrett Wilson because he's already aligned with where I want to have him. So what you want to do is use those 9 leagues against each other and go, where are the ones it's actually most beneficial to me to move Garrett Wilson? And at the same time, you're achieving the portfolio balance where maybe I don't want 33%. Maybe I want only 6 shares instead of 9. But find the 3 where it makes most sense to move off of them. Don't just move off 3 to move off 3. Try to find the ones that are most optimal. Easier said than done. The 3 you want to move them in, maybe the market isn't what you want in those 3. So you got to kind of settle or you got to hedge and maybe take one of the 2 deals that you don't really love. But I think use your portfolio against itself. Instead of shopping to 11 managers in one league, you're now shopping to 99 managers across 9 leagues, right? Because you have 11 in all of them. Like shop against your own portfolio, you'll get better value and you'll align it in better spots where you want Garrett Wilson exposure.
Yeah, you're certainly in no rush to sell him, right?
He's speaking specifically. Well, he's speaking in general, but he cited Garrett Wilson here, dude. Position plays a part in this too. Like if I could get 75% of Patrick Mahomes, I would take 75%. I would take 109% of Patrick Mahomes. I would take 100% of Jalen Hurts. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'd be 1,000% with that. With QBs, elite QBs, because I know they're going to remain elite for a little bit. But as someone pointed out on some fucking podcast the other day, Michael Thomas was the wide receiver 1 in Dynasty football.
That was my podcast
3 or 4 years ago or something.
Yeah, I believe so. It was 3 years ago that Michael Thomas was the wide receiver 1, and at that point in the game, nobody looked at him and goes, "No, that can't last." You know what I mean? As much as we love Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. Just saying that if I'm going to do it positionally, I'd rather be heavy at quarterback than anywhere else.
So, Jax, let's see if I can articulate this properly. But I heard today when you were doing another stream, you were doing a Best Ball Mania stream today, right?
Yeah.
So, and I feel like I had seen it or heard it before, whether it's Twitter or a pod. But you mentioned that those who pick running backs correctly this season are going to win money.
Yeah.
Now, when I listened to that, my question was, what tier of running back are we talking? Are you talking about having to hit on one of the hammers at the top, or, you're constructing through, 2nd, 3rd, 4th tier running backs? I think you got enough there. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, it's funny. I just feel like I think in general, but like generally speaking in quarterbacks, we kind of have that figured out. I mean, yeah, there's every now and again, there's like, oh, wow, Geno Smith had a big year, but we kind of had the quarterbacks right last year. We're going to kind of get them right again this year. It's not like a mystery. Someone might get hurt, whatever. Even the wide receivers to some degree, yes, there'll be some, variance from what we think happens. But Not so much. The running backs, every year there's injuries. Every year there's attrition. Every year there's just, teams that suck and guys who get nagging injury. I mean, everything just kind of turns on its head. I mean, is Charbonnet going to steal Ken Walker's job? Is Ken Walker going to be a lead dog? I have no idea. Like, that's not an easy one to call. So I was just talking about, like, in general, those of us who kind of put these running backs and, fade the ones that end up busting out and maybe steaming up the ones that end up paying off, that really is going to change leagues. And a lot of times, what are we doing? We're doing anchor running back. We're doing, hero running back. We're doing zero running back. So a lot of times, depending on how you play, I mean, obviously, if you overinvest on the, on the elite tier, you damn well better get that right. And if you don't get anybody in the elite tier and you only pick from the bargain basement, you better hope you hit some of that shit too, because, there, of course, that's kind of my point. I think if you get the running backs right, the other last thing I'll say about that too is, like, I feel like all off season, if we go back to as soon as the season ended to today, if you were to look at a graph of, running back value, Breece Hall was like the running back one. Now he was way down. Everybody was moving big time. It's not like it's been static and we're just trying to figure it out. The marketplace is also very volatile all off season with running backs, and nothing really has happened. I mean, draft picks and stuff, but so little happens, and we just move our values so much that if you can also take advantage, in Dynasty specifically, if you can take advantage of that value while also being right, man, you can crush your league.
Yep. Thoughts on that, Scott Connor? You love to talk about running backs. We all do.
I think the principle that Jax is speaking to is correct. And we've seen it the last 3 years, the high end range of outcomes for running backs is going down. It's collecting in the middle. You're seeing the collective whole landscape move down across. I mean, even look at the dead zone compared to 2 years ago and last year to now. We're talking just redraft or underdog. As a whole, the position's moving down. The reason for that is not just what he just said, but the high end is moving down. Like, you look 5 years ago, you can probably sit there and project a running back for 23, 24, 25 points per game in a PPR league. Nobody's hitting that now.
Yep.
One guy might exceed 21, 22. And that's a very limited sample size of guys, because you can look back historically and goes, okay, what does it take to hit that difference-making range? And it's like 100 targets, 300 touches, X amount of snaps. Like, there's a lot of trigger points where you go, yeah, as soon as you start talking those numbers, it's going to be very hard for, like, Jahmyr Gibbs to get there. He could be good, but you can almost eliminate 95% of the running back pool. They're just not going to get there. It's just not going to happen. So you're moving the top end down, which moves the entire pack down. But hey, relative to the whole pool, if I can find the one or two guys that hit 22 points per game when the entire rest of the landscape is down 20% from a couple of years ago, I've actually gotten more relative to the pack than I would have a couple years ago. And that's what I think you're speaking to is it's more convoluted. There's more in the range, but we can still pick out the outliers. And if you're willing to be convicted on a Barkley, Eckler, whoever it might be, and it pays off, the payoff is even higher than it was a couple years ago because the price is lower.
Scott, it's funny because, sorry, Shane, I just want to say one thing. You can pick up on this. The one thing that's interesting is, like, we used to just have a running back that would be like, okay, we know who the lead back is. If he gets hurt, we know who the handcuff is. Yep. Now it's more, we know who the two backs are, which ones are going to get 70-30 or 50-50 or what. We're trying to literally parse out who's going to get, that little of a difference between 50 and 70% of the running back touches, to Scott's point. Sorry, Shane, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
Do you have something to say? I heard you unmute because I could hear your fan.
He always
you
has
lost
something
it.
to say.
No, I'm good at this point. Move on.
Okay, Jax, what is
Hammer
your
has spoken?
The hammer has spoken. What does your bench look like on your dynasty squad? So yeah, I'm not going to lead the witness here and tell you what we like to have, but what's the breakdown in terms of positions, wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, backup quarterbacks? What does your bench look like?
Yeah, it depends on the scoring system. It used to be a little bit different. I think this is changing, but obviously with Superflex, I'll take any quarterback that has a chance of playing and scoring points. I think sometimes we delude ourselves into thinking a backup quarterback is worth rostering when even if they got in, you wouldn't even start them. No one in the league would want to start them, Nick Mullins or something. So, sometimes we probably have a little bit too much of that nonsense on our team. In tight end premium, I'm willing to roster deep at the tight end position, and non-tight end premium doesn't really matter because it's, you don't need to be that deep. So yeah, I think Scott said this so many times that basically you're looking for running backs with a pulse who could turn into something. You only need so many wide receivers, and Scott's laid this out on so many damn podcasts that he's converted me over, and basically what he says is spot on correct here, which is the theory of how many wide receivers can you start. You got to try and have as many top tier wide receivers in the available potential starting wide receiver slots, and then from there you need maybe a few backups as long as they're in the top top half of wide receivers that you could potentially roster, and then the rest are just running backs. Just as many running backs as possible that could get a shot.
Yeah, in the Dino Game Theory League, I'm just looking. So I have 34-man rosters, and we have a 4-man taxi. Yeah, I have 21 running backs.
Yeah.
And everything else is concentrated. It's like I have my 2 quarterbacks, and I get out. I have my 2 tight ends, and I get out. I have my 6 or 7 receivers, and I get out. And I never pay a damn dime for running back in that league if I can avoid it. So it's literally like you're going to the extremes at the other 3 positions and embracing the strategy. And if it fails, it fails.
So 7 quarterbacks in that league, by the way.
7 quarterbacks.
Yes, you do.
You rock at DTR, Dorian Thompson Robinson.
Well, I'm probably going to
because you have Watson. You have so much Watson. Do you have DTR? A lot of him.
Yeah, no Watson in this. I've got T-Law, Kyler Murray, Aiden O'Connell, and Will Levis. The other, and Bailey Zappi. I could probably. Oh, I like Aiden O'Connell. Well, there's like 5 of them I actually like. I could probably cut 2 of them.
There you go. There's look at that.
That's a good-looking fucking Avi, man.
Well, I just clicked on it.
For sure, bro. For sure.
I just clicked and I see this trade, and I want to pick Shane's brain because I'm pretty sure there's been numerous times on this stream where he's just said Cortland Sutton is an absolute
trash
dead
can.
Zero, and now he's trading.
How many do we start?
I'm giving you the floor. I'm giving you the floor to explain this trade.
How many do we start
PPR in a half PPR league? Shane, explain it.
How many do we start in this league?
I believe 12.
3 starting wide receivers, 3 starting wide receivers, 4 flex.
Yeah.
Okay.
12.
So 12. All right. Lay out the whole format. So how many teams? How many teams?
14? This is 14.
14.
14 teams. Super flex. It's
ridiculous.
PPR. It's just 1 point for tight ends and half point for wide receivers.
And there is a half point bonus for first downs.
Yeah,
it's what Jax laid out earlier. So, it's what he laid out earlier, pretty much.
So explain yourself, Shane. You took the Cortland Sutton in the third side over your very own Dallas Goedert. Okay,
Dallas Goedert doesn't matter. I've been informed by Warp. Dallas Goedert doesn't matter. He's fucking pointless. I already have David and Joe. So I have a couple tight ends on this team already. I like David and Joko, but I am very, very thin at wide receiver, except for adding Justin Jefferson the other day.
So when is Cortland Sutton not worthless anymore? Like when did that happen?
Start 12 and Jerry Jeudy just tore his fucking insides up. Do you remember Jerry Jeudy getting carted off the field today?
Yeah.
Holy
shit. Know Jerry Judy's got a history of being injured and not coming back and playing well. I'm betting on a situation for once. It's a low leverage deal. It's Dallas Goedert, who is the tight end 6, 7, 8, 9, tight end 9, which is slightly better than the tight end 20. And by slightly better, I mean about a half a point.
Jax, how fast did you smash this offer?
Very, very fast. No, I actually had to double check the news reports to make sure Dallas Goedert hadn't been in a motorcycle accident.
Yeah, that something hadn't gone down. Right.
You know what I mean? I was like, I Googled motorcycle, Goddard, accident, nothing happened. I had to make sure he wasn't at another bar fight in Montana where he was starched again.
Getting his face
where he was sucker punched. That was brutal. Did you put this up here, Scott? Is Judy done?
No, I did. No, Matt. He got carted off the field. I'm sure he's not done.
Yeah, no, it's a big part of it. I'm sure. Look, it was a perfect trade for Shane, perfect person to come to because I didn't have tight end. Tyler Conklin was in my starting tight end spot, which is not awesome. I think I have like Logan Thomas and Jelani Woods It's kind of thin. And so Goddard made a lot of sense. And I'm way over invested in Courtland Sutton. I think I'm at like over 50% of my leagues I have Courtland Sutton. So I'm looking to get off him in any place I can. So, that was also, and I just give up a third in a 14-team league. That's, pick 28 or later. So.
Yeah. And I those third round picks were definitely quarterbacks this year. And last year, there's a reason I have Bailey Zappi and Aiden O'Connell, who will both get to start this year. And I've had luck trading quarterbacks in this league, even though not many people trade in this league. Although there was like 4 trades this week. It was fucking bananas. Graham Barfield traded, Scott traded, I traded twice. But the rest of the time, these dudes just keep their dicks in their hands and won't make trades.
True,
so anytime
I'm ready to go. Let's go.
Anytime someone asks me about an expert league, they're like, "Oh, they must be so much fun." I'm like, "Bro, no,
they're dead most of the time."
I was like, they're too busy. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's they're too busy because I only have a full-time job and a part-time job and a couple kids and date. But somehow I can pull off 80 fucking trades a week.
Yes,
but I don't know what it is. Expert leagues are just.
I don't know what it is either because I'm ready to rock. I'm ready to trade. Let's go. I'm engaging people and they're like, "Nah." That's why we trade. Let's go. I'm ready.
Scott's trying to make trades with me right now, but he keeps trying to send me these, and he's really trying to test if any 53 man on a roster. He's offering me Duke Johnson. Is that Duke Johnson? Darnell Johnson? Who is this?
Uranus Johnson. I'm not going to
Uranus Johnson. Oh,
the running back 7 in Jacksonville.
The fuck, Johnson?
Yeah, I love Scott. That's my dude. Anytime I see a trade from Scott, I'm like, I know.
It's like, here comes a 24/4. He's trying to get off of me for some
like I know I'm not going to like this at all. Like, I get excited when I see trades in my inbox, unless it's from Scott Connor, because I'm like, oh, here's some fucking process shit getting thrown on.
Yeah, there's some process shit where you're just one of 14 who are getting them.
It's tight end 54 for 7% fab because I'm about to cut him. Like those are the things I spend my extra time doing. But
sorry, you let me on Thursday night. That's what happened. So
I was about to say you're taking the reins.
TDE is in the running gun league, it's Devy league, right? And I remember making fun of his trades in the beginning of the offseason because I saw no fucking rhyme or reason to him. I looked at his team yesterday. My dude has built an absolute fucking monster of Devies. He's got Caleb May, Nicholas Singleton, Brock Bauer. Like the dude's just got absurd. So good job by you, Cole. Sorry.
Okay, so Derek Smith says, contender with Gibbs and Bijan as my running back core. I'm a believer in Orb, also known as Zero RB. What moves can I make in a 12-team superflex to maintain value that is perhaps less volatile than that of these young RBs? Jax, let's start with you on this one, man.
I don't know why. Look, if I'm a contender, I don't know that I want to necessarily give up on Gibbs and Bijan anyway. I don't know. I mean, I would trade off Bijan. I mentioned this offseason that Bijan would be one of my trade away guys if I had him because his value can't get any higher. He's the number one overall player in some single quarterback league drafts. I mean, some people are taking him over Jefferson and Chase. He is a top 3 player. I mean, it's Jefferson, Chase, and him. So, you can't get much better than that. And, if his season turns out to be where he's, pretty good, RB8, RB9, RB10, is he going to be the RB1 overall if one of the other young guns, scores more points than him? Maybe not. I don't really know. I mean, there's really only down to go. I don't think he can be more valuable. Gibbs obviously is a little bit of a question mark, so maybe I'd trade him for those reasons, especially if I get a huge haul. But I don't know that I'd trade off of him just to stick to a zero RB philosophy. I've certainly never played that way. I played a win. So, I mean, if the right trade is there, but I'm looking to stack my team with as many points as I can get. Scott, you just made a trade in our league for Joe Mixon and DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think in a vacuum you make that trade. But in that league, you're trying to win the fucking thing. You're one of 2 or 3 teams that can win it. And he actually put a lot of pressure on teams like myself who are on the cusp. So he's trading a first-round pick for, Mixon and Hopkins. Everything is in its own sort of realm. I mean, I don't think you're doing that trade in 100% of leagues. I mean, you also got to figure it's the 12th, 13th, 14th pick of the first round. So everything kind of goes into it. I just don't look at it as like, I'm a 0 RB guy, so let me get off these awesome running backs. I don't play that way.
Yeah, for that one, so I've always said in 14 or 16 teamers, I'm actually willing to stretch the bets against my own picks more so if I have a good team, just because the range of outcomes is planting a lesser asset on some of the other teams. Another thing is, and so there's a comment in here from the Fantasy Plumber that I think is very perfect for this discussion too. I'll throw it up here real quick. I wish Scott wasn't so portfolio. Part of it is I only have so much time because I'm in literally damn 60 leagues, and I know that league is who can I trade with? It's about 4 or 5 people. And so if I get Graham Barfield sent me that offer.
Yeah.
And I'm going like, no offense to Graham Barfield, but that might be the only offer he ever sends me. So it's like, and it might be the only access to anything he has that he'll trade. So that was more of those. I know my league. I know that's not a super active league. I also know, listen, if I start out 7-0 and it's like last year where it's like Nate Liss and I are at the top the entire year, nobody's valuing that pick like it's valuable. Right. It's going to become, man, Joe Mixon for that first or DeAndre Hopkins for that first. So I'm like, you know what? I'm betting on 2 bad dynasty assets, but I'm willing to bet against my own pick more in that circumstance. But it's also, that may be truthfully the best offer I ever get for my pick. I mean, hell, I was trying to buy Kenny Pickett off of Jax because he has tons of quarterbacks, and I don't have hardly any Kenny Pickett. But even you were hesitant to send a quarterback for my first because you're like, it's probably not. And you know what? I look back and I go, you know what? I probably have a better chance of winning now that I made that deal with Graham than I did if I bought Kenny Pickett as my QB3, because I probably would have had to turn Kenny Pickett into something that I can use because I wouldn't be starting him most of the weeks. So
who are your 2 quarterbacks in that league? Do you remember?
Mahomes and Herbert.
Yeah.
So Kenny Pickett was just an investment. He was an investment piece where I go, can I do better than my first down the road? Versus this was more of a, I'm committing, I'm banking against my own first, but it's also, this is not an active league. Once I drain Shane and Jax and a couple of the other people of like, we're only going to be able to trade with each other so much. Once we've kind of beat that to death, it's the other 7 inactive people that it's hit or miss whether I get deals with them. And that,
well, it's like Graham logged on and said, I'm not winning. I'm just going to try and, convert some stuff into as many, things as I possibly can. That's what he did. He traded Justin Jefferson for only a first, a second in London. That was a great trade for you, Shane. That was awesome. I mean, what a value for JJ. I thought that was a great trade for you.
He said that, and, like Scott's mentioning, they're not very active league, right? Because again, it's experts. Everybody's super smart. So, they don't want to make a mistake and prove otherwise. Whereas I could give a fuck what you think of me if you're an expert or not. Fuck off. But all right, whatever. Acknowledge me anyway. Fuck them. Anyway, but
keep going.
There's not a lot of trading in that league, right? And Graham's looking at people with the capital that could even make a deal like that, and there's not many because not many people had multiple firsts. Like you just don't. Like there's just. The talent is distributed. I don't want to say super evenly, but it's even enough that you can't make.
It's too new a league. You're absolutely right. Yeah,
like there's not a lot of people that could have made deals like that. So,
and there's 6 or 7 other teams that actually think they're racing Graham for the 101, so they're not even going to entertain a deal like he's trying to get.
That's right.
So to be smart,
Graham's right. He's fucking, and he took off so many points off his roster. Like when you talk about how you tank. And he's going to get the 101 unless I don't really know what the bottom teams look like. But his quarterback room is fucking atrocious. He just took off JJ, DeAndre Hopkins, and Joe Mixon off that team on a start 12. So you're already starting dudes at the back of the end of the starting roster that it's just like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah,
like you're praying you had Chase Claypool to start. Like that's
but it's. To be fair, I mean, Jax, what's the difference between Caleb Williams and Brock Bowers in that league? It's 10x because of the scoring, right? So the fact that there's probably going to be a couple bad teams that go, damn, I wish I would have gutted my team quicker than Graham did because now I'm going to get the 104 and I'm just going to stay in perpetual, badness because I didn't tank fast enough. I wasn't the first to the market. And to that question from the Fantasy Plumber real quick, there's a reason I play the way that I play, but as our following grows and more people listen to our content, my role as a portfolio player is to just inform you of the bets you're making.
Yeah.
If you go, I only play in 2 leagues and I don't give a shit about a portfolio. I want Chris Olave and I'm going to double pay what it costs to get him. Fine. I'm just here to say, like, all right, this is probably the way to think about it if you're doing this on a large scale. But you know what? If you go on vacation and you've saved up all this money and you just want to go on a bender and blow $1,000 at the bar, I can tell you all day, all night, that is a terrible use of your time and your money. But if you just say, you know what, I don't care, I want to have fun, I have 1 league and I'm just going to go for broke. What's a portfolio player going to say? Other than the odds are not in your...
The portfolio thing that you're doing is like, also, I look at it maybe a little bit different too. I mean, I have a portfolio of teams, I guess, if you call 20 a portfolio, I think that is. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I look at it as range of outcomes too. You know, and yeah, if you're 100% invested in, I don't know, let's say Ken Walker right now, that feels bad because there's a lot of ways that Ken Walker could end up that are losing bets, right? But if you're 100% invested in Justin Jefferson or Patrick Mahomes, like Shane said, that's fucking fine. You know what I mean? It's like there's very, very few ways that those players can end up beating you. And so when you're playing in a single league, it's just really understanding that. When you're playing in 50 leagues or 60 leagues, you can't, you know, if you have 70% of one running back, you're like, dude, I could get hurt here. I could hurt a lot of my teams really bad. You know, if you're in one league, you can only get hurt once, but it can still hurt. So, you know, you want to think in terms of those range of outcomes, I think.
So Luke has an inbox offer, as it sounds, Jax. This is a trade that's sitting in his inbox. So give Terry and Amari Cooper, get Jalen Waddle. It's a 12-team Superflex, start 11, 2.0 for tight ends. Has Herbert, Stroud, Tannehill, Jimmy G, Mixon, Connor, Algier, Penny, any RB on a 53. QJ, Terry, Cooper, Rashid Rice, and Mingo.
Yuck.
Kelsey, Andrews, and Ingram. What do you think? Are you giving Terry and Cooper to get Waddle on that team?
Yeah, I guess I am. But, boy, what a terrible wide receiver room he's got there on a start 11. So he's got other problems, whichever way he goes. I think it's probably the better value long-term for him to have Waddle over Cooper and Terry because he's not scoring points. He's not winning this league. He's just not. I mean, Kelsey and Andrews too. My God, he's got some work to do with this team because I don't think he can win a start 11 with Waddle, QJ, Rice, and Mingo. And I don't think he's winning it with QJ, Terry, Cooper, Rice, and Mingo either. So that's a tough one. I mean, obviously he's playing tight ends in his flex. So this is a tough one. What do you think, Scott or Shane? Go right ahead. I hate this this team in this situation.
I hate your team. Wow, that's fucked up. I do though.
You weren't paying attention. Okay, here's
I was
the
reading
team.
Twitter. Michael Pittman got hurt, apparently.
It's interesting because I'd love to know how good this team was last year too, because the two tight end premium with Kelsey and Andrews is a huge advantage. You know, so it's a tough spot. I mean, if that team can win,
give Cooper.
You almost don't want to trade Cooper and Terry for Waddle, but the value is so much better on the Waddle side.
Right.
Start 11. I mean,
but I don't know if he can win that way. You know?
I mean, just who am I?
He only has Herbert. Like, he's not strong at QB.
Who am I slotting in instead of Cooper? Let's just say Waddle over Terry McLaurin is what, like a 6-point a game difference. So who am I slotting into my starting role instead of Amari Cooper? Where's his starters?
Rashid Rice.
Mingo, or not, QJ.
Yeah, I don't know that any of those guys is going to be within 7 points of Amari Cooper this year a game. So, but they're old. Terry and Cooper are old as fuck. I'm just going to make the deal. I like young people. I'm taking Waddle. Fuck the old people. Of course,
it's the right deal, but it's just such he's a win now team with the tight ends. I don't know what to do there. I mean,
but look, there's other stuff he can do though. It's a 2-point tight end premium. I can make some moves with that team. I'm going to make that deal. That's not the last deal you're going to make. You're going to have to make. It can't be the last deal
you make. I agree with that.
No,
you're going to have to make other deals.
All right, we just had a big old super chat come in here. Thank you very much, One Love.
And just real quick,
what's up?
I just want to shout out. That's how you super chat right there. You come in, you throw it on the table, and you slam to the front.
You just throw it there. No, thank you very much. Very generous, One Love. Much appreciated. So he's got a 10-team, 1 QB, half PPR, start 7. Mahomes, Barkley, Pollard, Javonte, JJ, so Justin Jefferson, Higgins, Pitts. Just traded Barkley, Higgins, the 105, 107 for Chase and the 24 first. I know it's an overpay, but I still have the 101, 102, 104. Thoughts, suggestions for the 102 and 104? And then the hammer emoji.
I mean, it's a start 7. It's a 10-team. So, I mean, you're literally just going, how do I get the best players in the league? Like, I don't overthink it. You know, you have an embarrassment of riches. You found a fish to give you the best receiver in the league, arguably, for 4 pieces. Now, good pieces.
Yep.
If you told me this was a start 10, I'd be going, man, it's a lot to pay for one player. But
start 7.
And this is what bugs me. And I want to get Shane and Jax's thoughts on this. This team exists in a league. None of us are playing in a 10-team start 7. We're just not. But just the dynamics, the market dynamics, and the math equation here. If I see a team that has this roster, he also has the 102, 101, and the 104.
I'm making him make those picks.
And, well, no. I'm actually entertaining a deal with him, and he is protecting his 3 best pieces.
Yes.
And then I accept the trade. It's not even the players here. There's a way where Barkley, Higgins, and those draft picks could actually outproduce Chase. Like the variance could actually go against him here. It's a lot.
But not in your lineup, it won't.
Not in your lineup. But the point is you are feeding a monster here that you really, if you're going to do a deal like this with this type of super team, you need to look at it more as how am I dinging him versus helping me? Because I'm actually hurting the rest of the league by allowing him to keep Bijan and Gibbs and then add Chase to the roster. And then you just, after that, who cares? He's going to go to bat with Mahomes, Pollard, Jefferson, Chase, Pitts, Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs. If he doesn't win, he got unlucky. That's it.
That's it.
So you just don't trade with this guy. But when a guy's built a team like this, I like what Shane, what do we always say in the roster reviews? If you build a team with this many assets, you can't screw it up unless you just recklessly go on a bender and give everything away.
I'd almost say even in a start 7, giving up Barkley and Higgins and 2 picks for 1 player is almost reckless. But it doesn't fucking matter because the rest of your team is ridiculous. Then you have the 101 and you have Bijan, the dude that made the trade with him. You got to get the earlier picks. Like that 105 and 107 are outside of the elite range anyway. Like, could they be elite? Sure. But, 105, we're talking JSN, right?
No, this is a single quarterback.
Oh,
JSN's
quarterback.
JSN's going
it's
2 or 3.
Worse.
It's way worse. You're getting
worse.
QJ or Zay Flowers.
105. Oh, yeah.
It's fucking
terrible.
You cannot.
That's terrible.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's atrocious.
What are we doing here? What are we doing here with the 104? If you have to pick, who are we taking? 104
for me, this
days?
is easy because in this league, he's going to be rostering and starting JJ and Chase. You're never taking them out of the lineup. Even on a bye week, you might still play them on the off chance that they get traded right before the game. I mean, I'm joking. But you're playing JJ and Chase every single week. You're playing Mahomes every single week. You'll put Pitts at quarterback during the bye week just because it's fun. This team is so dominant. So you go Mahomes, JJ, Chase, and then all you want to do is insulate your team with running backs. I go absolutely 1,000%. I'm drafting Gibbs and Bijan 1 and 2, and then taking Addison at 4. Addison could be just as good as JSN. I don't think he is, but it's possible. But you want to lock in those 2 running backs to absolutely put more pressure on this league. Because if you have the top 2, you basically have the top 2 running backs in Dynasty with Gibbs and Bijan. You have the top 2 wide receivers, the top quarterback. This is absolutely what you do. This kid
half
is
PPR start 7. It's a stupid team.
Here's the other thing is he presumably got back a first from the team. Also, we didn't overlay. And truthfully, Jax is going to scoff at this. You know who I take at 104?
Charbonnet.
No,
Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, maybe.
And a 1 QB.
You know why? Because that's the one player, if someone else hits and he hits his ceiling, that can get close to matching my Mahomes. Jordan Addison isn't matching my receiver. And it's like, now I'm.
Did he have another pick there? Maybe what was it, 107 or something?
He
I
had
mean,
a
once
He had
still had a
101,
ton of
102,
picks.
and 104.
Well, he
Yeah.
gave 5 and that's the thing.
He
He
gave
had
5
the
and 7.
1, the 2, the 4, the 5, and the 7, and you let the dude give away the 5 and the 7,
Feel
and
like-
you gave him a first back. I mean,
Somehow. Yeah, it
come on.
doesn't even make any sense.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
say this to Giant Dick. The Giant Dick. That's his name.
One
now.
love.
Yeah. You playing tougher leagues. You've already schooled these dudes. Like there's
Yes,
nothing
it's
to
true.
be learned there.
This
It's
one was
true.
great. One Love
Yep.
knocked 15 dimes off the table with that dick swing. I saw that one come through. It was
Yeah.
definitely a little giggle there. All right. So let's go to this one. I did turn. Let's acknowledge the crowd. We have 197 people in here joining us on a Thursday, joining Jax. Thank you very much for hopping on with us, man.
That's cool.
We knew this was going to be a great show. It's clearly going to be awesome feedback. But in the meantime, we have 197 awesome people in here. If you wouldn't mind hitting that like, we'd appreciate it. Easiest way to help out this channel. So let's knock this one out real quick from Geist. 16 team Superflex lineup league, start 10, tiered PPR, Dobbins and Deontay or Breece Hall. Is that close?
I don't
Shane,
believe that, sir.
you-
No.
What
love
is it?
Breece
What does
Hall.
it need on top still?
Well, Dobbins doesn't move the needle for me. So
even in a 16 teamer start
It moves my needle.
160 players. I know.
I've got
Matt.
about
I
a
know.
2-dime
Matt.
needle.
I know.
how
Matt.
many dimes are we working with?
I know,
2-dime
Matt.
needle down here. It's getting exciting.
I don't. I guess just because it's 16 teams doesn't mean Dobbins is all of a sudden good.
Of
I
course,
mean, he's
no.
going to give you 11 points a game.
Okay, and how many RB2s can do that in this league?
I don't know, 30, 40, 50. I don't know. I'll go look up the variance. I don't know. There's probably not that many.
The one reason I consider this trade, I mean, the format says you want to get the 2-for-1.
Mhm.
Forget about the player names, the form, but Clay's made this point in the past before. The one reason you may do this is, what are you getting back? You're getting back to a good receiver, maybe a good running back, but let's just say we're getting a good receiver and a good running back.
Mm-hmm.
But Breece Hall, you never know. That could be the asset you acquire. That could be the guy that could allow you to move a first and Breece Hall for a quarterback. Like that could get you into something that's going to be really impossible to get. Dobbins and Deontay Johnson are not doing that. So that's the only reason is if you go, man, I have no QBs here. My QB1 is Mac Jones. How can I get a better quarterback? It might take a Breece Hall in a first versus the Deontay and J.K. Dobbins don't get you anything. So that'd be the only reason to do it is if you want to color up later, you have a piece that gets you in the range or in the conversation.
Look, I get the formats and all that, right? I do. I get. But when you just take on a bunch of mediocre players, and Deontay Johnson's not mediocre, but J.K. Dobbins is especially mediocre, and I love him coming out of college, but whatever. It is what it is. Dude's mediocre. You can't keep adding mediocre players to your team and then don't understand why your fucking roster, why you finish every year is mediocre. You want to shoot for 7th? That's cool. You're not the worst. Good for you. You know what I mean? I hope you enjoy that 7th place participation trophy. I'd rather just take Breece Hall and take a shot that I can add another hammer somewhere else. I wouldn't mind getting Deontay Johnson, but we're not going to do Breece Hall to do it. Move Breece Hall to do it.
What are the odds that Breece Hall outscores J.K. Dobbins this season?
See, I don't know. Can we go on the Vegas books? What does the Vegas books say? Because that's I
What do
believe
you
them
think,
over
Scott?
me.
What do you guys think? I mean,
80%, 85%.
Total points or points per
That's-
game?
Points per game. That's all we care. The total points. What year is this? Stop it.
I'm asking total points. Points
Total
per game
points.
could be 0.1. I'm just talking total points this year. What are the odds that Breece Hall outscores J.K. Dobbins? I'm just asking a simple question. You guys
I will
don't
go
take it so personal.
70%. I take
I mean,
everything
total points-
personal.
Total points, you are kind of banking on Breece Hall being get ready to go right away versus,
Right.
you know, like there is some risk in total points, but
Okay, and then the other side, you guys think it's that much assuredness that Breece is going to outscore him in points per game?
no,
Did you know Dalvin Cook plays in New York? I mean,
He does. He does.
Yeah,
He does.
yeah.
I am all about the math says take Deontay Johnson and J.K. Dobbins for the production. The only reason you take Breece Hall is if you have a bigger move down the road or you're just shooting for the best asset in the deal. But I'm with you, Jax. I like the package. You could turn 5 studs into 10 really productive players. And if you have like just one good quarterback in this league, you win. you know, because you have the most depth and you're rolling out when other people don't have that. So I understand that.
Dude, get a bunch of J.K. Dobbins, load up your team. Let me see it. What's the worth chart? Go find those players.
Hey, that's a 16 team league. I mean, let's not play around.
16 teams start 10.
That's all. I mean, a 12 team league. I just, you know, Deontay's going to have 150 targets, probably 2 or 3 years straight now. I mean, I don't know. Apparently,
matters. George Pickens is going to catch everything that's ever thrown by.
But
Kenny
Deontay
Pickens.
might actually be the best asset in the whole damn deal in 2 years potentially. I mean, I don't know what's happened to Brees.
I love Deontay. Look, if I could find a way to do this deal without Brees Hall. Like, cool. But
of course.
Let me go find a way. Like, I'll even overpay a little bit to get Deontay in this league. Here's 3 second rounders. There's 3 starters for you, Scott, in the J.K. Dobbins range.
Yeah, just take Brees Hall out. Well, then I get that deal.
Yeah. So
I'll give you absolutely nothing for those 2 good players. Thanks.
Sounds good to me.
So Mike the Mike, thank you very much for the super chat. He's got a 1 QB, 12 teams, start 9, full PPR. QB is Jax. All right, so Jax is help me out here. Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson.
Is that who we're going with? Okay.
So for some reason, my mind went straight to T-Law. I don't know why.
My mind went to.
Mine did too. Mine did too because of Jacksonville.
My mind went to Jax Falcone. I didn't know he played quarterback.
I'm in running back there too. Jax.
Nice.
D Jax?
There you go. So 1 QB, 12 teams, start 9, full PPR. Quarterback is Lamar Jackson. Running backs are Chubb, Gibson, Pacheco. And then we have D-Jax and Hull.
He's got those Colts, that Colts combo right there. That's powerful in a start 9.
Yeah.
Set up Kedre, Roshan, wide receivers Chase, Wilson, Waddle, Watson, Hollywood.
Yeah,
looks good. Waller, Chig, Hurst, 224 first. 1 is from the last place in 23. And then continued 1 of 2.
We gotta continue.
Should I make a splash running back deal? JT maybe, or should I roll with this squad? Thanks,
all right,
guys.
go back. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So again, it's a 12 team, 1 QB, start 9.
I don't know what a JT deal looks like from this. I'm protecting the 24 firsts. Like, I'm just protecting them because they could be a lot of value. It's not even the players I want to take. I just want to protect them. I mean, even I would assume the other one's your pick, which doesn't look like it's going to be that high a pick, but I don't give a shit. I'm almost protecting all of them to this point because you just never know. 1 quarterback league. The pick is a little less valuable. Although, Marvin Harrison. So maybe the second pick, if it's your pick, maybe I'd use that pick plus. I'm working through it. Hopefully you guys don't mind hearing me.
No, do your thing, man. This
maybe
is what we want to hear.
You're 24 first, and maybe one of the receivers not named Chase and Garrett Wilson, maybe not Waddle. I don't know. Yeah, it's funny. I don't know what the hell. Maybe a 24 first plus gets you to JT, and you can make a run. That's fine. I'm thinking. What do you guys think?
Do we for sure need a running back, a hammer running back right here?
We don't need it. I think it depends on the market. If you could buy a running back later, I'm okay rolling with this squad. But I'd love to move my late first in the hopium of Kendre Miller for Jonathan Taylor if I can do it.
Sure.
If I can add something in there like Chiga Okonkwo, throw him in, doesn't matter at all in a PPR league when I have Hurst as a backup.
That's what I'm thinking right there. Yeah, if you could do something like that, my first and Kendre plus Chig for JT, rock and roll.
You're giving up what's looking like the 110. Kendre, which is a second round pick.
Garbage.
You're looking forward to JT getting traded to Miami and just tearing shit up.
Yep. Thank you, Mike the Mike. This one is funny. So he was on, I guess 2 nights ago, maybe on our Tuesday. It's hard to say it with a straight face, but Nipplefucker69 gave us another super chat saying, "Who day?" We appreciate that again.
What a sir. I love that dude.
Nipplefucker 69. It's funny that YouTube was like, yeah, sure, you can have this. You can have this name. There's like,
YouTube's just about the money, bro. You use whatever fucking name you want. Good for them.
Yep. We got Jeremy from Dynasty Daddy on here saying, "Let's go." So Dynasty Daddy, Jax, Scott, and Shane, they do tons of roster reviews, and they use Dynasty Daddy. It's Dynasty-Daddy, right?
Yes.
.com. Awesome tool over there. Jeremy's a great guy.
Felix.
Ooh, and we got Sharp Review in here as well.
My dude Felix, man, haven't talked to you in a hot minute. I actually made a deal with Felix in the DGT league.
Look how good looking he is in that picture.
Yeah,
he's just
son
fucking
of a bitch,
dunking
man.
on us right there.
Yeah, I don't appreciate
thank
that.
you, and thank you for the
fucked
comment there. Congrats on the growth of this thing, gentlemen. And hey, you're welcome on here if you would like, Mr. Sharp Review. Okay, Dynasty Barry gives us a double fire.
Yeah, shout out Dynasty Barry, really good dude, always supportive on the stream. So shout out to Dynasty Barry. I'll say this: the originator of, I don't want to say the originator of Warp, but he's one of the originators of who put it in like visual form for our groups last year, and that kicked off a whole rampage of just building out Warp tools. So I just want to give a big shout out to Dynasty Daddy, or to Dynasty Barry. My bad.
Dynasty Barry.
Both
Also,
Dynasty Daddy
will take another one.
Dynasty Daddy, yeah. Make sure you get roster reviews by me and Scott. Dynasty Daddy's awesome tools, and they keep getting better. We got a little DM thread going with them where I tell him stuff that I like, and then he tells me, well, that's not possible on Earth. You fucking lunatic. What do you think I am? But no, great site.
Yeah, so roster review at dynastytrades5.com for details and options. Send you the pricing process, etc. Okay, so let's move back over here. Shane, Scott, you guys gonna hang on for a little while here? It's a good conversation.
Yeah, we had one more question. I'll let Shane decide. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, maybe just one question, and then I'd like you two to just be alone for a half an hour. So sometimes I kind of like to watch my partner. With someone else just to see what it looks like.
You like to watch?
I'm starting to get uncomfortable.
Well, we need some Dynasty different with Clay and Jax. So
we had Nipple Fucker 69 come in and just change the tone of this stream. Yeah, so this one I have to put up, which is hilarious. Adrian Howell. My wife is mad at you guys. Because of you, I have joined 20 Dynasty leagues, but I love it. This is my first year in Dynasty. Woo! Oh my goodness. Hey, don't put that on us. I mean, hey, we're happy to be in this journey with you, but don't put 20 on us there.
First year 20. Impressive. That's strong.
My first year,
I don't recommend that.
11.
No.
Like,
don't recommend that.
When you set lineups here in a week or whatever,
I'm going to tell you now, get the Fantasy Pros Master Hall of Fame thing, or just go write articles for them, and then they never take away your access, and you get it for free. So go do that. Well, I'm going to say goodnight, and I'm going to watch Jax and Clay just be special. And
another. It'll be a good time. Normally, it's just me on the Thursdays, but I had to get Scott and Shane in here as well. Have a conversation with
Scott,
you. You're too smart
really good
for me on
Jax.
I love you, Shane. You're the best. I love you,
Scott. I'll see you later.
I'll see Shane in
you'll see him in no time, I'm sure. Okay, let's put this sucker up. We can remove Scott. See ya. All right, I did something else too. Yeah, that looks pretty good. No, I had this.
Scott was leaving too. Sorry, I would have said bye to him.
I had this background. Let's see if that looks. Yeah, that looks kind of cool. Not terrible. Anyway, Jax, let's keep going for a little while if you're cool with that, man. Yeah. Go for 20, 30 minutes or so. I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, some of my frequently asked questions. Okay, that I always run into. Let's say. What is the difference in a 4-point per passing touchdown for QB versus a 6-point per passing touchdown? What truly is the difference there? Are people getting too spooked when they see it's 4-point per passing touchdown? All of a sudden they're like, oh, I don't want, insert like Dak Prescott. You'd rather have some like lesser running quarterback over like Dak. Go ahead.
I think it's kind of like, the old days. It would be standard half PPR. You kind of have to start splitting the differences. And I think, tight end premium, how much do you value it? I think you just have to lean a little bit more towards, the running quarterbacks. But I don't know that you want to just change your tiers. You know what I mean? If you think Dak's a good quarterback and this other guy's not, you're not going to take Sam Howell over Dak. He doesn't run. I got to move him.
That's getting cute.
And I love Sam Howell, by the way. Listen to the pod. Me and Ray Garvin, actually, we just did the pod. It's out now. It just dropped. We did it last night.
Awesome.
And it's called Sam Howell Receipt King. So let's just say that me and Ray both had a field day with our previous takes on Sam Howell, and hopefully we'll see him succeed. But yeah, I think that's basically the difference is, my number one thing when you join any league, redraft or dynasty, is check the scoring.
First thing,
check the scoring, check the lineup. So you got to know which quarterback or which players will, like, how did they score last year? You got to know how that all works out. And so, that'll help you. I mean, understanding how they score is huge, but no, don't overdo anything like that. Changing your rankings or your tiers,
Yeah, that's the first thing I do before any trades too. It's like, okay, Clay, just take the time, go in here. Like, don't think it's just one of your stock, 12-team super flexes. It's like, oh, this one has a 0.2 point per carry. Like, all of a sudden, I mean, you just have to check. Otherwise, you can make some donkey moves.
I think that's smart too. When you get a trade, you're like, wait, what league is this? I know the league, the name, I see it, but what exact fucking scoring was this? Yeah. Am I an idiot for taking this deal? Yeah.
Yeah, because we played in some funky stuff. I'm sure you do too. I just wanted to pull this up and address this real quick. So Mike the Mike says, what are your thoughts on switching a current Dynasty 1 QB league to a super flex? Is it better to just redraft for the super flex? It's a 5-year-old league. Thanks. What's your answer? I know my answer.
Generally speaking, this is very difficult to do and almost impossible to do. But the only way that I would do it is to have unanimous league vote to the solution, period. Unanimous. If one player does not want to play Superflex, it's off. So to me, you can bring it up. You can have conversations. You guys can all, I think there is a way to do it. Basically you would say at the beginning of this season, hey, next season it's going to be, or 2 years from now, you got to create a buffer so that guys can start trading and moving and maneuvering, knowing 2 quarterback is coming. You could also protect maybe a certain amount of players and do an auxiliary draft. There's a number of ways you can do it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to have 100% of your league buy into the way you're going to do that. That's the number one way to do it. And by having that, you'll have to listen to everybody. Because if I've got a team with like one shitty quarterback and I've been kind of scuffling along, you're telling me we're going super flex, I'm like, I'm out. Unless you make it so that my team has a way to compete, I'm out. And you shouldn't be changing it on me if I don't agree with doing it.
No, it's tricky. It is a good sign. He said 5-year league. That's awesome. And that you're even having the conversations about switching it to a super flex shows it's a nice, healthy league. But this is an excuse to re-roll and do another startup, baby.
100%.
Because you've got a great group there.
Yeah, you got a great group. Just do another league. That's the answer. Yep.
Do another one. So Jay Jackson has a super chat for us here. Jax, I'm joining late, but in a 1 QB, what would you guys buy, sell for JT?
We talked about it a little bit, right? We said a late first, Kendre and Chig. That is we would buy. I don't know that I would be selling for that. I actually tweeted recently. I said go buy JT. I think there's some uncertainty. There's two questions on the chat that were JT trade related, and I think there's a lot of people who may be a little bit insecure about JT. Will he play? Is he hurt? Will he get traded to a team I don't like? There's a lot of fear there. And so if there's a dynasty owner that's willing to sell light, go for it. I think when you talk about draft picks, obviously it's hard to determine with draft picks, but I would just say that if you're getting outside the top 5 or so, top 5 or 8 value for him, that's an absolute smash. In other words, top 5 or 8 running back value.
Sure.
Because I think if he were to, just have look, if he goes to Philadelphia, he's the RB2. You know what I mean? In Dynasty, he just slots right in there. So if he goes to Miami, he's not that much farther behind. If he ends up just playing for Indianapolis, he's still a top 5 running back. So you just kind of go through the thought experiments. There's not that much that can happen to him where he falls out the top 5. But, if I can sell at running back 2 value, then I'm doing that. Sure.
So how would you do a cross-positional trade? I know we talked about with Chig and all, but if you were selling JT, is there a straight-up wide receiver you do it for? Like, is T. Higgins is not enough? Is Jalen Waddle enough? Or would it have to be Jalen Waddle and then, a decent, flex RB, something like that? What do you think?
I think in a vacuum, Jalen Waddle's fine. T. Higgins probably not enough. It's somewhere in there, right? I think you did a great job. You've done this before, I can tell. No, that's
lots of streams with smart people.
Yeah, right. Unbelievable. But you kind of know then that there's also roster configuration to all this. Like if you're a rebuilding team, maybe I'd even consider for T. Higgins. You know, I mean, is that the best I can do? If I'm selling on the hotness, well, then I'd ask for a little bit more. If my team is about to win and like JT is like, you know, one of like my anchor running back, and I'm going to be completely, you know, decimated at the running back position with this trade, why am I doing that? So it's kind of, there's a lot going on there, right? You know, is it a full PPR? Is there any point per carry? You know, you start to, what are the league settings? There's a lot of questions as to what I'm doing with JT for those reasons, but I think that's about right. I think anytime I can trade a running back straight up for an elite wide receiver, I want to do that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it always comes down to with trades to who approached who first, you know, because that person, you know, that person has the leverage. How many times do you even still get messages saying, hey, what do you want for such and such?
Yeah, it's funny.
You still get it too, right? It's like send an offer. No, I'd like to say send an offer that you would accept.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
Yeah.
I mean,
something. Yeah.
I will say this though. My pet peeve, I don't know. I've never said it on this program before, so I'll say it. It's one of my. There's a lot of smart people listening to this show. Some people are already just sort of my fans, maybe, but those who don't know me, maybe have never heard me say this. But if there's a player in a manager in your league who sends you the shitty trade, right? He sends you like Denzel Mims and 2 seconds for Jamar Chase, right? And you get mad, that's your fault. Don't get mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's the reason why. What do people do? What have you heard that people do when they get that trade? What do they normally do?
Yeah. So you're the one receiving the shitty offer?
Yes, that person. What does that person do?
So that person
equal shitty offer to the other guy?
Yeah, equally shitty, or just say that's not even close. When you should probably just decline and move on, right? You don't want to give any information.
That's right.
You know
what you have gotten information, right? Because there's only one of two things, right? What are the two options? One, he thinks you're an idiot, or two, he's an idiot.
Yeah.
Those are the only two options, right?
Yeah.
Because nobody who knows what the fuck is going on would ever send that thinking it has any relevance to any sort of anything. So he either thinks you're an idiot or he's an idiot. Either way, I think you've kind of identified the mark in the league. Well, why would you want to be adversarial with the mark? You want to be buddy-buddy with the mark. You want the mark sending you all sorts of shit because the mark is going to step in it. He is going to step in it. He's going to send you, Marvin Mims. Think he's like just dumping some shit, and you're gonna be like, oh, I snapped up Marvin Mims for a third. He's an idiot. Like, you want that guy to be you can leverage that information. But if you send him some other bullshit and you tell him, don't fucking send me that shit, well, then he's gonna be like, well, fuck that guy. I'm gonna send my awful trades to somebody else, and somebody else is gonna get him stepping in it to them.
I like it. No, that's the truth. I like you have to
don't need to educate
your
league. You don't need to educate your league.
Exactly. Yes. I know. You feel like you need to sometimes, but
they send them a trade calculator thing or something.
Yeah,
Any of this now.
Here's my login. Yeah.
Yes, don't do it.
DJJ Dog 1, thank you for the super chat. Missed you guys, took a month off, working too hard. Hope I didn't lose out too much. Shane's 17th biggest fan. Nice. We appreciate that. We appreciate it. Took a month off working too hard. Well, hopefully you're not
maybe
working
took a month
too
off
hard
of
anymore.
Watching.
Oh yeah.
I missed you guys. Took a month off of watching. That's what it was.
Oh yeah. No, we've been pumping out a lot of content lately. I know you have too, but this is 3 streams in a night in a row for us. For me and Shane especially. But hey, keep on partying here, right? What else was I going to ask you? Startup strategy. People are trying to jam in startups. So let's jam in a startup question.
Yeah.
How do you like to approach a startup? Do you have any like golden rules or at least some solid things you live by, solid foundational things you do your best to stick with?
Yeah. And I did a pretty high stakes startup, and I violated a couple of my rules. And by and large, I try to, trade back and accrue value. And, if I can trade back from the 2.3 to the 2.9, and pick up a little value or whatever, just continuously be trading back to accrue value. I don't want to give up on an elite asset. So in other words, all these top level quarterbacks and Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, I'm not going to trade out of Justin Jefferson for just a little bit to move back a little bit. you have to understand your tiers. And, obviously the elite tier is a very expensive one to get into. So if I'm selling out of there, I'm going to break the bank. If not, just take the player and trade out later. But the point of the matter is that I'm looking to try and make the startup draft leave me with as much total value as I possibly could get out of the startup draft. And if that's the philosophy going in, then I have to be willing to part with the pick when I'm on the clock and just say, and sometimes it's hard. People will say, well, nobody wanted the pick, so I just picked. And well, how many hours was the clock and how many hours did you take of the clock?
Yeah, right. Did everybody get an offer from you?
Yeah, right. Because here's the thing, I've logged in and someone's down to like 2 hours and 30 out of an 8-hour clock. And I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even realize. What are they doing? Oh, they want to trade it? Well, let me look at what and I get involved late and I'm like, and I'm interested in making the pick, or I've sold the pick in those scenarios as well. And, you can drum up, hey, I'm definitely trading this pick if anyone else wants in. What did I say? Anyone else? There's nobody who sent me an offer yet, but I'm saying if there's anyone else who wants I got to get people thinking that I'm the gatekeeper of trades. And, so once I do that, then anytime I'm on the clock, I'll get a DM. Hey, man, you mind selling this pick?
Yes.
Because they know now that you're the guy that's willing
that you're down. Yeah.
You're down. Right. So you're the guy. So you become that. If you can be that person in the league, you will absolutely walk away. I've walked away from drafts like that where, I basically have multiple firsts in the upcoming drafts, multiple seconds. I've got multiple picks in rounds 8 through 12 where I've just got stacks of picks.
Nice clusters. Yeah.
Right. And then at the end of it, I get my team. It goes into the sleeper or whatever. I've got all these future picks, and I'm still favored to win my matchup in week 1. I'm like, look at this. Like the team is actually better too sometimes. So sometimes people say, yeah, I don't like to do the productive struggle, or I don't like to tank my first year. And I'm like, me neither. But I think by trading back, you can do both. And so that's one of the strategies that I've employed. And I know that it's similar but different to Scott Connor, who will try to leverage up to get the two, in our league. What do you have? He had Mahomes and Herbert. It's worked. He, he was second in the league that last year. So, I mean, it is a good strategy. I try to maybe start to think about that a little bit, but also trade back and gain some more value. So that's basically it. Oh, and draft wide receivers, not running backs. That I also fucked up a little bit too.
Well, here, let me pull this up actually. Look at this this listener league startup that we're in right now, and I went totally rogue. All right, I decided I'm going YOLO, old people fantasy points. Okay, can you see my screen here, Jax?
Yeah.
Okay,
let me increase my size here.
So we'll take a peek over at the other teams. I just wanted you to take a look at this board and give me your thoughts. Here I am right down the middle here, Mr. Baby. So just look at this. I went Lamar at 107, Kelsey at 206, McCaffrey in the third round. Fourth, I went DK Metcalf, and then I got Austin Eckler in the fifth after a trade. I mean, just look at this team. I got Aaron Rodgers. Yes. Who else do I have? Who are my other quarterbacks? Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, and Lamar Jackson. But take a peek. What do you think?
So
I went YOLO contender, man.
My team in this would be more like KB25, right? Get your anchor quarterback or Evan Ringler or whatever the fuck. But I mean, where's his quarterbacks? I mean, that's unless he probably traded. Can you click on the?
Who does Evan?
You can click on the name. There you go. Geno Stafford. Yeah, he got Chase, Wilson, Waddle, Cup. Hit KB25. He just stuck there, huh? I mean, did anybody trade back? Let's see Evan Ringler again. Did he trade back at all? Not really, huh? He kind of
no. He it's hard for me to even read this. He has made some trades clearly, but
absolutely. Hit your Mr. Baby again. Did you kind of stay there?
Yeah, so this is I moved around some. So Lamar, Kelsey, McCaffrey.
So
DK
for me
Metcalf.
again, the basis of my team is I want young wide receivers. You failed.
Yep.
I mean that respectfully, right? So,
sure.
I want young stud wide receivers up at the top to buoy my roster for a long period of time. And at some point, the McCaffrey Eckler could help you win, but they age out quickly. Who knows what? Whereas, the other wide receivers taken in that same same spot, you could have gotten Higgins or whatever. And again, Higgins is not as winning a player as McCaffrey, but he is a better startup pick for the long haul. So it's tough, man, because it's so hard to pass on the points when you're trying to win your league.
Yeah,
super hard.
And the settings too. There's it does. I did try to inflate running backs a little bit with the settings. There is like maybe a 0.20 point per carry, and there's like some first down bonus action stuff like that. So there is some extra value in running backs. But I was like, this is a listener league, man. I'm just gonna have fun with it. Yeah. I never draft teams like that, but I was like, let's just
and it's hard because once you get stuck in a certain strategy, you think that you have to continue to follow it. But yeah, I did a similar draft. Well, I don't know if it was exactly like that, but I did something similar where I kind of left the draft without really loving my team. But I just love those teams because that those 4 or 5 wide receivers that those 2 guys took, 2 years from now, they're still going to be viable. So they can continue to sort of cobble things around in the rookie drafts, free agents trades. Yeah. They can do stuff to put stuff around them, but they're still going to be viable. Whether they're going to be elite or not, who knows? But they're going to be there and they're going to be scoring. Amari Cooper. Look at Amari Cooper still scoring points. Look at DeAndre Hopkins still scoring points. I mean,
because they're just such good route runners.
But I mean, those guys hang on. They do. They're contemporaries. Who was drafted with DeAndre Hopkins would have been like that was pre-Gurley. I mean,
yeah.
Like they're long gone. Same thing with Amari Cooper. Whatever wide running backs were drafted, I mean, their rookie draft with Amari are long gone out of the league.
So let me ask you this: in a situation like mine, and not to hog the airwaves here, our lovely 178 people still in here. If you're looking at a team like mine, though, where I was like, all right, I'm going for it. Got CMC, Eckler, all these win now pieces. Are you more likely to sell your 24 first now and just be like, hey, I'm going to lean into this, or do you want to have that as a little bit of a hedge in case shit goes wrong? At least you still have the that first in your back pocket. What do you think?
Yeah, I've gotten myself into trouble using the former where I'm like, I'm a winning team, I'm gonna go buy this player, I'm gonna win. And I bought Derrick Henry in CMC in one league the year they both got hurt and crapped out. I bought them as they were doing great, and then they both got hurt. I had like 3 or 4 firsts that I just all my value that I had built through the draft, I lost immediately in those 2 players, and they haven't won me anything, and I haven't really been able to return the value that I paid for them by trading them away. So that sucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So that sucked. And so I have been hesitant to ever try that because in my 20 leagues, I've always been what I mentioned earlier. That's the way I go. But I've said, well, let me try this other thing, the thing that you're talking about. Let's sell. It's not worked very well for me. And maybe there's some people out there where it has worked. I don't know. I've not seen it work very often. Usually that team without first round picks is losing.
So One Love asked, where can we find Jax? And then Soggy Danger 1 answered it. Jax does the Undrafted podcast. Great stuff. Talk about yourself, man. I'd like to hear a little bit about your story too. Just how you got into content creation, but then absolutely let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, well, we're at the undroppables.com is our website. My show is now streaming on the Player Profiler feed as well. But we're the Undrafted. If you search, the Undrafted, or if you search the Undroppables anywhere you find podcasts, you'll find the Undrafted. Pretty dope logo. It looks fucking great, by the way. But anyway,
it does.
My story, man. It's funny because I started playing a long time ago. Fantasy football, and in the, I don't know, maybe it's got to be almost 10 years ago now, when I started to play Dynasty, there was no information on Dynasty. I played on Yahoo and ESPN, right? Those are the platforms we played on. Sleeper didn't exist back then. And I was like, how do I play Dynasty? I don't even know how to play Dynasty. I want to play Dynasty. I don't even know how. So we had some home leagues. I'm like, I played in a few different home leagues. So I grabbed like 3 dope players from each home league I was in, or like I had to work, whatever, different groups of people,
Right.
And we had these 12 guys. I'm like, let's do this fucking Dynasty league. And they were like, all right, done. No clue. So I ended up, the first league I ever did was what is an FFPC style. I didn't even know I made an FFPC league
as your first
as my own
league.
idea. And because someone explained FFPC, I was like, that's my first league I ever did. They're like, you were in FFPC? I was like, no, I made one of those. So I was like, keep 17, draft up to 25, whatever. So, I was just mad to try and find information. So I said, well, maybe Twitter. So I went on Twitter and I started to, that's why the alias, Jax Falcone. I didn't want anybody to know where I was. I was just trying to be incognito, fucking try and find some information. And, I started rubbing elbows with different people. And, as Twitter is, which is a pretty cool place, man, because you start to communicate with people, and people who were in the industry were kind of telling me that I had something to offer. And I said, well, maybe that's true. And so I started to do a few things for a couple different, outlets. I helped Alex Johnson start Yards Per. That was awesome. That was cool. Yeah. He's a good kid and does good work, and it's a pretty good little site, does good stuff, man. He's okay. And then, my brother Chalk, had started the Undroppables, and we've been brothers since, so we just put in a lot of work at the Undroppables, and I don't know, man, it was a passion project. And now all of a sudden here we are, so however many years later, 4 or 5 years later, just doing it. So it's crazy. I don't know how it happened. It just fucking happened. I wasn't trying to get into it. It just sort of found me.
Same thing. I had an app. I started a website, dynastypandemic.com, which is now dynastytradesand5.com. Spent a ton of money building that out. I was like, well, it makes sense to rebrand it. But the whole idea for this YouTube channel was to promote Dynasty Pandemic, which I was launching, like an online community. It went the other way. It was supposed to be a 5-minute trade show. People ended up really liking the trade show. So I guess let's rebrand towards that. So I got my foot in the door with Shane and Scott. That was the goal, right?
Well, that's been the thing for me, is just meeting so many people that I, like, it's been a cool community. And, I don't know, man, like I said, it's something that I just, the podcast, I'll tell you, you guys are a good show. A lot of people that listen to my show, listen to your show, or watch this, I think someone even posted, my favorite YouTube channel, my favorite podcast,
and my favorite podcast,
So I think there's some overlap there, which is obvious. But when I first started I was listening to, Dynasty Trades HQ, Shane's pod,
Dynasty
back
and
in the
Chill.
day, right? One of the first ones I listened to. So I listened to these pods, and some of them were good. And then I would listen to some, and they were dog shit awful. Like some of the worst publications of any sort I had ever heard. And I was like, wow, this is awful. And I heard some good ones. Matt Kelly and Nate Liss, I thought was a great Dynasty show when I first found it. Like I said, Dynasty Trades HQ, or whatever the fuck they called it. They still call it, right? Shane's pod. I thought that was good. I liked it. Dynasty Nerds was fun. There was a couple that were like, okay, these are okay. These are good. And I said, I know I'm better than the shit. I know it. I wonder if I could be as good as some of these other guys do. And I just got to find out. So I just said, we're going to do a pod. I'm going to do a pod. And turns out I am better than all those motherfuckers. No, I'm joking.
No, good for you, man.
We're doing good. We're having fun.
Yeah, I had Nate Liss join us the other day. He was on like a week or two ago. Yeah, he's the man. I saw him at the expo, and I had never met him in person. I was like, hey, I dig your stuff. And like that night or the next night, I was like, hey, you wanna join me next Thursday? He's like, let's do it. I was like, I dig people who are just like make a decision like that.
Nate's been on the show a bunch, and we go after each other. I love Nate.
Yeah, good dude. So let me ask, we're gonna do another Dynasty question here, then I'm gonna ask you one more question, and then we will call it an evening, sir. So Caleb Puckett, would you trade Tank Bigsby and Tajay Spears in a mid to late 24 second for a mid to early 24 first? So 12 teams, super flex, start 10. Smash it.
Hurry up and smash it, because if it's mid to early, is it super flex? Fucking yes, absolutely. Because there's 3 super high premium assets in Drake May, Caleb, and Marvin Harrison. So you have 3. Mid is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, what if it's 3? I mean, if you have a shot at one of those 3, and those are just the 3 that we quote unquote know of. I know there's other players that we know of. I understand that, but what else happens during the process during this next year if a prospect elevates himself? There could be 4 super premium. Who knows? 4 or 5. I don't know. But then after that, there's just a regular first round of a
exactly. It's the same thing where everybody's bailing to 25.
Yes, just get that super premium first. Absolutely, Bigsby and Spears, and 3 seconds for this is a no-brainer. Smash it.
Yeah, especially since it's August 24th too.
Smash it.
Getting that, smash it and keep it in your pocket unless you're getting a big old piece back. Okay, so this is funny. I actually have to pull this up. So I remember when Jax was supposedly exposed to be fantasy receipts. I remember that too. That was hilarious. I was
awesome.
I was like, was it Jax?
So that was awesome. I remember that was I think it was like a Saturday morning. I woke up and Kev Kev
Roto Surgeon.
I would do that on his name. Had come out and was like just completely telling everybody I was fantasy receipts, and I thought, that is awesome. I am going to go on my podcast and say that he's right and that he fucking found me, and all the dumb reasons that he gave for finding me, which was like they both use Colbert gifts and shit like that, which I don't even know that I use Colbert gifts, but that was one of his like fucking breadcrumbs that he found. Dude, that was absolutely awesome. So I played into that for many, many, many months until people started to realize it wasn't me.
Yeah. I am curious to know, but it is funny. The other day, Shane chimed in on some post that Fantasy Receipts had started and was like, yeah, Olave for me, like put me down for Olave as a receipt for me. And then the Fantasy Receipts person said, haha, we love you, Shane, or something. So it's like, okay, so is that why
maybe it is me
spared this whole time? Maybe it is. Maybe it is
me, because I do love Shane. Everybody knows that.
So everybody who joins me on a Thursday has to listen to this question. It's a selfish one for me. But if I hop into your whip, what song do I hear? You seem like you have an eclectic music taste. I'm just a guess, a hunch, Jax.
Yeah. I mean, if we're hanging together, you'll probably listen to Sublime.
Okay. All right. Some 40 Ounce to Freedom.
Yeah. We'll listen to Sublime. I mean, I do have a very eclectic music taste, so that's like I will listen to anything, as long as it's good. I've been listening to country a lot. I'm out here in the country of California, Yeah. I'm not in the city. I listen to anything, man. I love it. I love anything. I was gonna say you probably listen to like one of these stupid ass podcasts though.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, just like back in the day where you're like, man, there's not very much good stuff. There's still a lot of not.
I got Bob Marley over there.
Bob Marley. Yep.
See him and some stuff.
You can't go wrong there. All right, we're gonna do one more trade and then we're gonna bounce. So this guy or girl is asking if it's a smash. This is how we'll finish. Byronic, 10 team Superflex start 10. Trade Ridley and Sutton for JT. Smash.
Yeah.
Yes.
Smash it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because Sutton's nothing and Ridley is not the difference maker that JT could be. And so that's a smash. Yeah, get JT.
Quick thoughts on Ridley. What are you in the camp that thinks he looks good in camp, that footwork's amazing, or are you
he sure does.
More of a quote unquote yes, he does, quote unquote seller or buyer?
So all offseason, I thought that his ADP was ridiculous, and it's only gotten worse, meaning better. It's gone up.
Right.
He's being drafted in the 3rd round on Underdog. To me, this feels very, very hopeful. It feels like certainly being drafted at his ceiling. The problem is that the 3rd round generally sucks, and there's nothing there. You're like, it's all kind of hopefuls anyway. The super premium top 25 or 30 people are gone. And then you're like, I got to bet on someone to do something. And they're all a little bit tarnished in that range. So for that reason, I can at least understand people, moving him there. I just feel like this is a guy who's been, out of football for almost 2 years, 2 full seasons, or, maybe longer. Yeah. It's been a long time. He hasn't played a full season in 3 years. He's had one great football season. He's 29 years old. He's playing with a new team, new quarterback on a team with a lot of targets, target earners. I know Evan Ingram maybe isn't quite the target earner that he showed last year, but he earns targets.
So does Christian Kirk, yeah.
Christian Kirk earns targets, and Zay Jones earns targets. He everywhere he's gone, he has earned
T-Law
targets.
likes him. T-Law likes him too. He's got eyes for Zay. Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, he obviously, slots into the Marvin Jones spot, so to speak. Christian Kirk still seemingly manning the slot. So that means Calvin Ridley's gonna have to win outside. I'd love him a lot more if he were in the slot. So I think it's probably a ceiling bet. But there's a lot of ceiling bets at that point. So I guess you can justify it that way. But in general, I'm off. But I do see that he was moving well. I made the joke, which is a fun one. I basically have said, when you're an injured player, right? If you're injured and you're missing time, what do you have to do?
If you're injured and you're missing time,
what are you doing while you're off?
You're probably playing Madden.
No, you're rehabbing.
And not working out.
Not if you're injured. If you're injured, you have to rehab. They got you doing all the shit to get your leg better or whatever the hell's broken. You got to get better. But if you're not injured, you're playing Madden. That's the point, right? If you're not injured, he was just fucking chilling. Now, it turns out he probably wasn't chilling because he looks pretty good out there. But, it's the Deshaun Watson corollary. We missed Deshaun Watson for a couple of years or whatever it was, however long he was out. He didn't come back and do it. Josh Gordon didn't come back. There's been a number of these guys where when they miss time, they're not quite the player we saw when they left. Now, he's got it all set up for him. I mean, obviously Trevor Lawrence is an absolute stud, and that should be a high-powered offense, and he does project to be the best wide receiver in that room. So there is ceiling there, but I just think that he's more likely to end up at 95 to 105 targets than he is at 145 to 155.
Yeah, no doubt. Man, we are so close to football. It's getting exciting. We're so close. We're right there, right? Isn't it Thursday? Is it September 7th? Is that the date?
Yes.
September 7th is the date everybody is looking forward to. Oh boy.
2 weeks.
Bring it on. Time to get ready to set lineups. I've got a few leagues that I need to dump ASAP before I have to start setting them. But Jax, we are done for the evening. Just tell everyone where to find you on Twitter. You're actually a hilarious follow on Twitter. What's your handle? At Dino Game Theory?
At Dino Game Theory. Yeah, I've been able to do more dumb shit on Twitter since I had the podcast. Before I had to put all my smart takes on Twitter. Yeah. Now I save those for the podcast and I just say stupid ass, crazy, fun shit on Twitter. I do every now and again put something smart on Twitter, but Twitter's a lot of fun, man. I mean, it is.
It is. I was late to the Twitter party. Oh, did he bounce or something?
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just see the Aaron Rodgers avatar. I can't see you anymore.
What's up?
But yeah, you
can hear me, right?
I can hear you.
Cool. It said my camera unplugged, so we'll just keep rolling, okay?
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say there was one tweet where you I think maybe showed a trade or something like that, and you were like, "What do you fuckers think?"
Yeah,
like to your followers. It's just everything is so loose, and it's so Jax apparently.
Yes,
yeah.
I definitely am authentic. Sorry for the fucked up camera now, but that's all right. It'll be okay. But
you're good,
man, it's be yourself. That's been the number one thing too. It's like I don't work for a fantasy pros or anything like that, so I can just do whatever the fuck I want, and I think people enjoy that. That's why we love Shane. Shane just kind of says what he thinks, and
so refreshing.
That's why I love him. He's authentic, and you just want to fucking bear hug that dude. And so yeah, I'm no Shane. I'm definitely a different human being, but I am. This is what I am. So I have a lot of fun with that, and I think that's why my listeners appreciate me. Is I am very, very honest about what I know and what I don't know. I'm not trying to be some fucking genius out here. I'm just having fun.
Yeah, man. I see all this stuff. This guy seems awesome. Yes.
Cool.
Check him out. Definitely follow his stuff. It's The Undrafted, but if you go to the undroppables.com, you'll see a bunch of other cool stuff and you'll be able to make your way over to his podcast. But 152 people staying with us here to the end. We appreciate you. If you wouldn't mind hitting that like on your way out, we'd appreciate that. But yeah, Scott, this was awesome, man.
Thanks, man.
This was great. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna hit this. I'm gonna end the broadcast. Take it easy. Have a good night.